David says, what I'm going to do to fight pride in my life, to fight sin in my life, he says, above everything else, I'm going to get in his presence and I'm going to gaze upon his glory, because what I behold, I become. What I behold, I become. So I spend time in his presence. It's hard to be proud in his presence. It's hard not to be reminded of his greatness, his goodness, his glory, and his power in his presence. It's hard for you to be God when you're in the presence of the real God. The Secret Service and the Treasury Department, the FBI, when they talk about counterfeit money, it's interesting how they train their officers to detect it. In my mind, I would think if we're trying to find out counterfeit money, we're gonna look at some counterfeits and see what they did. Oh, the ink was wrong on this one. Oh, okay, his nose is backwards on that one. Or, oh man, it's smudged on my hand. They don't do that at all. They don't spend time with fake money at all. It's fascinating. You know what they do? They put them in the room with real money, and they make them spend hours there. And they study it and they analyze it, and they study it and they analyze it. And they spend days and days looking at real money. The idea is that they know emphatically what the real thing looks like, they can identify a counterfeit very easily. I guess what I'm saying is your glory is a counterfeit glory. Your pride, your arrogance, it's counterfeit. It is not the real thing. But if you spend time in the presence of his glory, gazing upon his glory, spending time looking and resting in his power, resting in his peace, resting in his love, you will know the real thing. And when the counterfeit tries to show up in your own heart, you can identify it and call it out. When's the last time you spent time gazing in his glory? See, what happens is pride blinds you. Pride deafens you. Pride literally sets you up. That's how you fall, because you can't see and you can't hear. That's why you fall. That's why destruction is inevitable, because you refuse to see wisdom. You refuse to hear wisdom. You are just intoxicated by your own glory, your own power. It's hard for you to trust God when you're sitting in the seat of God. So that pride says, I know what I'm doing. I got what I'm doing. No. And some of you even tell, I know what I'm doing. Don't tell me nothing. I don't want to hear it. You ever saw somebody that didn't know what they was doing? And they didn't know that they didn't know what they was doing? And they just walking around, and then you try to help them. You try to say, hey, you might want to, I don't know what I'm doing. No. What do? You just, okay. And can't nobody help this fool, right? The fool kids in the biblical sense, with the way that the Bible calls it, lacking wisdom. You know what happens with pride? It repels wisdom. So when pride takes root in your heart, wisdom is hard to come around because it just repels it. Friends, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to fight pride in your own heart, in your own life, is get before the presence of the Almighty God and remind yourself, he's God, I'm not.